All right. Okay, with that said, I'd like to first just make a few announcements, our housekeeping rules. Please keep your microphones muted when you are not speaking and drop your questions in the chat or you can speak at the dedicated Q&A session. And then we have also put registration link in the chat. So please make sure you register for the attendance of the webinar. Okay, to officially commence the session, the first session, it is my great pleasure to invite our keynote speaker to our virtual stage. Dr. Elizabeth, I am walking you up on stage, as we would say here. So, Dr. Elizabeth, welcome to the Young Professionals webinar. Thank you very much for making time to join us. We know you are very, very busy, but we also know that you are passionate with young professionals and always ready to share the information that you have. So thank you very much for joining us. So Dr. Elizabeth is the director of IGREG. For those that do not know IGREG is the International Groundwater Resource Assessment Center. She has been a director since January 2022. She is a hydrogeologist by profession with a PhD in water science, a master's in sustainable management and protection of water resources, and she has over 30 years of experience. So this is the age of young professionals, guys. So she has been working the number of years you have been alive. So put that into context. So she has worked in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Europe. She has worked as a project manager, technical expert, consultant, research and development center researcher, as well as a director. Her fields of expertise are groundwater management, groundwater in the arid and semi-arid environment, groundwater dependent ecosystems, groundwater heritage, as well as local and ancestral groundwater knowledge. This was actually a surprise for me. Her presentation today is titled 2025 Update of the Map of Transboundary Aquifers of the World. And the question is, what's new in the SADC region? And we are looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us. And the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Getty, for this introduction. Very nice. For me, it's a pleasure, and thank you to invite me. It's a really an honor also and thank you for your trust. I will share my my screen right now. I think that I will share this one. Can you see the full screen?
Yes, yes. It's
okay.
showing, yes.
It's the full screen, eh?
Yes.
The full, okay, perfect. So again, thank you. I think all the presentation has been done. And very happy to be here. I'm so sorry that I will have to leave, but I see that the event is recorded. So because I don't want it to miss the other presentation, but I will look at listen to them later on. So let's start. So quickly about IGREG, in case you don't know, it's a global groundwater center working under the auspice of WMO and UNESCO and the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization. We collect. What we do? We collect data worldwide. We do research, transfer knowledge, and also a lot of awareness raising. And we focus on two main topics: groundwater monitoring and assessment and status, and transboundary aquifers, which is the one I will present today. We contribute at different level, at global level, international to international agendas, SDGs, water action agenda. We also contribute to global report and support UN agency, but we also contribute a lot at national level, where we supporting government institution in charge of groundwater. But at local level, we don't have really a project, but we do a lot of awareness raising, and we try to link the local reality to the global data and assessment. So let's speak about transboundary aquifers. So the map of transboundary aquifers of the world provides an overview of aquifers that cross international borders, and this is what the figures is showing. So these shared groundwater resources, as you know, they are invisible. Groundwater are often vital for water security of each country, or one of them. And the sustainable management of those shared groundwater resources is often a matter of international cooperation. So it adds a bit of difficulty to the management in some cases. The map is a process, and it's a long-standing cooperation between UNESCO and IGREC, developed over more than 15 years. And you can see here the first version in 2009 and different updates in 2012, 2015, 2021. And the map, each update synthesize findings from regional, from studies, published studies, reports, etc. So each update reflects the most up-to-date knowledge of transboundary aquifers. Oh, what's new at global level? After we will see what's new in the SADC region. So at global level, the 2025 update, or first, the objective of the 2025 update were, as previous update, to update the boundaries of the transboundary aquifers with the most up-to-date information, as I said, but also we wanted to include also to collect basic descriptive information about TBAs and their boundaries. I will explain a bit later to understand better. I mean, for the user to understand better what means the shapes that we can see on the map and the boundaries, etc., in order to use it more. I mean, understanding what that means. The results of these new updates are that 49 new transboundary aquifers have been added. The majority of which in Europe, but there is also one in the SADC region. The boundary of 41 existing TBAs has been revised because they have been better studied. So we are able to update the boundaries. Many of them in the Danube River Basin, the border between Algeria, Morocco, and Brazil, but also in the SADC region, you will see. What is a bit new is that 91 TBAs have been removed. So that doesn't mean that the groundwater disappeared, not at all. It's just that we have new knowledge showing that before we thought that there was groundwater flow between two or more countries, but new studies show that maybe there is hydrogeological units, but there is no groundwater flow or very minimal, and therefore it cannot be considered as an aquifer and a transboundary aquifer. And a lot have been removed between the border of Mexico and the United States, but you will see also in the SADC region. And so the total number of mapped TBAs now stands at 426. Here you can see I should have the pointer. So here it's the example of the Saint-Priest aquifer in the SADC regions, the Saint-Priest aquifer system. That have been updated in orange. You see it was the update of 2021, so last previous map, and in green, blue-green, it's the update, the 2025 update. So you see that the Saint-Priest aquifer has changed, the boundaries have changed, and it only shows that the knowledge has improved, but not any change on the ground, of course. Okay. Let me next. So this is the result. This is the map of transboundary aquifer of the world 2025. I will not stay longer. This is the other side of the map where you have the list of the TBAs, the transboundary aquifers, and thematic maps that also I will show. It's also a new added. And this is the viewer that you can find on our global platform called Global Groundwater Information System, where we can find a lot of information, data, etc. And there is a viewer on the transboundary aquifer map. And you can select here the 2025 edition, but you can also select previous editions. And here you can see the 2009 edition. So you can compare between the last edition, new edition, what has changed. Okay, let's go into the update. So, so first, before going into the SADC region, so you can see that there have been a lot of changes. And so those changes really show the challenges in mapping transboundary aquifer boundaries, because aquifers are 3D, three-dimension and underground formations. So the task of mapping transboundary aquifers is particularly challenging where geological and groundwater data is limited. And therefore, TBAs, transboundary aquifer boundaries, are subject to change depending on the data availability and scale. Then it is not uncommon to find different transboundary aquifer boundaries in the literature. Different authors have different boundaries. In such cases, the most recent or the most convincing, which is supported, for example, by authoritative publication, or the most widely accepted, followed by most authors, have been selected. And in instances where hydrogeological information is insufficient, then TBAs, transboundary aquifers, may be represented with a simplified, circular, or elliptical shape. This is here you can see, this is the Arangua alluvial aquifer, shared between Mozambique and Zambia, identified by a study in 2009. But so we know it has been, we know there is evidence of an aquifer, but the limits, the boundaries of the aquifer are not known. So we put an elliptical shape. Okay, it's time to go into the SADC region. So I have made here, it's a snapshot of the viewer on the GGIS. And so in blue-green, this is the new TBA boundaries, the new transboundary aquifer boundaries of 2025. And in orange, these are the former transboundary aquifer boundaries of 2021. Oh, sorry. So the boundaries of some aquifers of some aquifer systems have been updated based on recent publication. And here I already spoke about the Sambriet aquifer system. You can see between Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. We found a study from 2024 that allowed really to update the shape. You can see there is quite a difference, but also the sorry for the pronouncing, maybe not in a good way, the name of the aquifer, the Kakea-Bray Dolomite Aquifer between Botswana and South Africa has been updated based on a recent study of 2022. And you see, before we had an elliptical shape, and now we have real defined boundaries of an aquifer. And then we have the Coango aquifer between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Angola that has been also updated, the limits. And here we found a study from SADC region in 2010 that we don't know why, but was not taken into account previously. So you can see that the shape, the boundaries of the aquifer have been really updated and for this map. Some aquifers have been removed because of the lack of scientific evidence. And this is the case in the SADC region from the Save alluvial aquifer between Mozambique and Zimbabwe. You can see there, it was an elliptical shape, and we didn't find any solid evidence that this aquifer exists, or the Limpopo Basin between Mozambique and Zimbabwe and South Africa. So we have studies 2 years ago. We went through all the available information, and we did not find any evidence of groundwater flow in this part. So yeah, as I said, this is the state of the knowledge, and maybe as you expert will say yes, maybe, but yeah, this is the state of the knowledge today. In this region, between Mozambique and Malawi, if I'm not wrong, sorry, I don't remember. There have been the last study from Christina Fraser in 2020 defined a lot of aquifers we see in orange. However, with additional information, it appeared that those are hydrogeological units, but it's not because you have hydrogeological units that you have groundwater flow. That's the difference is important. So those hydrogeological units are in crystalline basement rocks, fractured rocks, characterized by very low primary porosity and permeability, and produce very low borehole yield. Therefore, we cannot consider really as a transboundary aquifer. And then one new TBA has been included also from Fraser and al. In 2020, the Shai alluvial aquifer between Malawi and Mozambique. Interesting, we included in this new update a thematic map. And one thematic map, because as I said, we wanted also to inform the user and the reader about how solid is the information behind the definition of the boundaries of the transboundary aquifer. So, because sometimes we have a very good information with a lot of studies that confirms the information. other times we have very few information. So it's important for the reader and the user to understand where we have a lot of information, solid information, and where we don't have that much. So we have the availability of data and information for each transboundary aquifer was estimated following 3 categories, limited, moderate, and good. So limited, the transboundary aquifer has been identified preliminary based on limited data information. Maybe it's a geological map or hydrogeological map. As I said, that doesn't mean that this is an indication of probably a transboundary aquifer, but not necessarily. The moderate was selected when the transboundary aquifer has been identified and characterized only to some degree. The complete extent of the aquifer formation is uncertain, as well as the groundwater dynamic across the formation. So there is a need for further research. And good is when the transboundary aquifer has been well defined and characterized usually by a peer-reviewed scientific publication on the basis of and on the basis of the information collected from both sides of the border, because often we have information from only one side of the border. And so you have to know that this evaluation involves a degree of subjectivity, and you cannot rely on an exhaustive review of the literature. It's often impossible, and but it helps in distinguish between TBAs that are based on a limited amount of data information. And then you know that such transboundary aquifer information should be considered with greater care, and additional research activity are needed. So let's come back to the SADC region. And that's quite interesting. There you can see that so in purple, it's the good information. We have good information. So we have the Cypriot, very good studies now. We have also the Karoo sedimentary aquifer, if I'm not wrong. Also the Eastern Kalahari, the Karoo sub-basin, all are good, have good information. So that's good. That doesn't mean that more information is needed often, but at least we have quite good information. And then in pink, there, it's moderate information. So the Kulai and Etosha Basin, or Oranguena aquifer system, also the Northern Kalahari, the Karoo Basin, and Karoo Basin. So you can see those are those aquifers that have moderate information. And then all light pink, and you can see have poor information, limited information. So that means that most studies are needed. So you will see this is a call also to more study and more information. And last, the second thematic map that we prepared with this update is about TBA, the map and the reporting on the SDG 652. So as part of the Sustainable Development Goals, UN member state report on the indicator 652, which is the proportion of transboundary basin area with an operational arrangement for water cooperation. And in those reports, UN member states list the transboundary aquifers they share with neighboring country. So this information allows for a comparison between the TBA in the map and the TBA reported by countries. So for each TBA country, the attribute table mentions whether the country is a reporting member state and if he has reported on TBA. So the comparison also, of course, should be interpreted with care, with caution, because TBA boundaries are often not provided in the report, and sometimes also countries report on TBA, but with a different names. So sometimes it's difficult to assign a TBA that a country reported on and a TBA on the map. But anyway, And also what is important is that the fact that a transboundary aquifer is reported in the SDG 652 report doesn't imply political recognition by the countries concerned. And even this is also important for our map. This is not because there is a transboundary aquifer in the map that the country officially recognized that there is a transboundary aquifer. So this map is really a scientific tool. Let's come back again on the SADC region. So you can see, if you look at the SADC region and if you look at the global map, I would say that the SADC region is doing quite good in reporting transboundary aquifers to the UN, because in brown, you see, this in brown, this is that both countries have reported, or both or all the countries, sometimes there are 3 countries or more, have reported on the transboundary aquifers. So you see that the majority of them have been reported. So that's quite good, because even if it's not an official recognition, this is somehow a recognition. And then in light brown here, this is partially reported. So, for example, only 1 country reported, but not the other. And not reported at all, some, but this is the minimum. So as I said, I think that in the region, it's quite nice results. In conclusion, so the TBA map is an ongoing process since 2009, yet challenging. We lack so much information in a lot of regions. So it's important that to remember that the map, it's a scientific work with its limitation, which and doesn't imply any recognition on the part of of course, the authors, but also the countries. It's an ongoing process. We defining the limit of transboundary aquifer is crucial to support transboundary groundwater management. And the map represents a scientific tool on which decision, agreement, and further governance and management are based. And this is a call for you as a young professionals or researchers. Some aquifers and regions of the world critically lack information, and more effort are needed to continue reducing this knowledge gap. So really, it's interesting. You can have a look at it if you, and this is a call to more collaboration. And this is the link. Of course, you can go to this and you can download the shapefile, everything, the attribute table, the methodological report, everything is there. Yeah, so I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Your presentation was very, very good, very engaging, and it's always good to see the maps, as well as be reassured that SADC is doing very, very well when it comes to TBAs. We'll open it up to questions. Let me see if I have some hands so that we can just take some questions and then see how it goes. We see, okay, Dr. Kevin, you have the floor.
Yes, hi Elizabeth. I'm the oldest young professional in this group. No, thank you. As you know, we've SADC-GMI has been involved quite in the process, and most of the basins, came from work that we do, and those, like for example, Limpopo and also the Save alluvial aquifer, we looked at the geological maps and so forth, and on that basis decided that that it's not it's what do you call it, a transboundary river, but it's not a transboundary aquifer system. But actually, why I wanted to come in is just maybe to reflect on some of the future work that we are starting, which may be of interest to IGRAC, but also to give a heads up to one of our young professionals, Tandeka in Gobo, which you kind of referenced. on the Kakia Bray transboundary aquifer. So it's her work that led to the delineation of more pronounced delineations. I think Dandeka's online, so kudos to her for making that contributions, and I think it's also a motivation to the young professionals, you know, to see that the work that they do gets recognized. So that is wonderful. But just to give you a heads up, we're starting we're working now on the Kuvalai basin. So I think that in itself, I think will be important work for the next update. We're going to start looking also at the Karoo sedimentary aquifer systems in more detail, and some of the coastal sedimentary basins. But what is quite interesting is that we also going to initiate activities around the Koango, which is a basin that is very understudied. So we're quite keen there. We're also looking at the Tanganyika one, which is interesting, which lies outside. It lies mostly in SADC countries, but Burundi is also part of that. But we've kind of, you know, it seems like it. So yeah, I'm seeing already 5 to 10 investigations that's being launched, and we're looking forward, obviously, to making that scientific contribution. And we kind of saying to our young professionals, get involved. There's lots of work to do. Thank you, and thank you for the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I didn't know you were on the call, and what I didn't say, but it's that, of course, we have done this work with UNESCO, but we have done this work with the IAH Transboundary Aquifer Commission, so International Association of Hydrogeologists. I think that's interesting also for the young professional to know about this association, international, global. And Kevin, of course, well, I mean, you could have made the presentation of the SADC region much better than me, as I am not a specialist at all. So yeah, thank you to give insight, and it's very nice to know that you are working on those and yeah, so we will I mean, next work and update, we of course count with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin, our youngest young professional. So yeah, I now know what topic to give Kevin. He is on our schedule next year, so I know exactly the title to give him for the next presentation. Thank you very much, Kevin. There's a question in the chat, Doctor. It's from Anesu. He's asking what criteria was used to determine that the TBA is real and that the others are not real, and what was considered to say this TBA met the standard to be real or not to be real. So I think just to add a bit, it's maybe because I know you mentioned a little bit on the minimum flow, that perhaps also just to extend on what was considered at the beginning when it was first introduced, that it's actually a transboundary aquifer, and then how are you for future trying to navigate that so that we don't have so many that looked like, or at least the foundation criteria to add the TBAs.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the work rely on publications and knowledge of expert, as Kevin. So of course we rely a lot, but what has happened in the past that hydrogeological formations were identified and mapped as a TBA. However, as you know, you have to have an aquifer, you need groundwater flow. You can have maybe an hydrogeological formation, you can have water, but not really groundwater flow, and that cannot be transmitted or retrieved. So the aquifers that have been removed is the aquifer that where there was no groundwater flow identified really, or very, very limited. So basically that's not worth to map a TBA on which, knowing that then, of course, management, it's a tool for management. So that's it. This is why. So mainly that's but we rely a lot on studies and that are done on the ground and it's challenging because as I said, sometimes there are information from on one side of the border, not on the other side, but yeah, so there is always a degree of subjectivity that we have to assess if really if the information is sufficient to select really as a TBA or not.
All right, thank you, Doctor. I think that is very clear. Okay, we are running out of time, but let me just take one more question. We have the river here. I'm assuming it's Nathan. Nathan, the Zambezi River is his nickname. So Nathan, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Getty, and thank you, Elizabeth, for the presentation. So mine, I think, bends towards the management or governance aspect, considering that TBAs involve, different countries. So with this ongoing research and new discoveries being made, some TBAs being disqualified as TBAs, how does this affect commitment of, say, member states from a governance and management standpoint?
Thank you. This is also a key question. Quickly, because I know there is other speakers. There are also speakers. So you know that there is very few agreement, unfortunately, over transboundary aquifers. You can count it. A formal agreement, you can count it in one hand. So there is very few agreements. So that's really not, and in the aquifer that were removed, there were definitely not any actions, management, because at the end there was no really groundwater flow, so there is no use, no impact, etc. So basically that's not affecting, because in those aquifers there were nothing already. Yeah, I think that's the answer.
Yes. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much for making time to join us here today with the young professionals. We know you have to join another call as well, which is, of course, equally important. We really appreciate the time you made to join us and the insight you gave us. So hopefully you are comfortable with us circulating the presentation, so the young professionals will be able to get all the links and look up all the different TBAs, especially the ones that require more work, so that they know exactly which areas to focus on when it comes to researching and ensuring that they are also tagged and mentioned in the next update to come in the coming years. So with that, the young professionals, we are giving you a virtual round of applause. Thank you very much. And yeah, so we move on now.
Thank you. Bye.
So now I realized. So we are now moving on to our next speaker. He is our guest speaker, Mr. Mike Ramano. Just quickly walking him up the stage, our virtual stage, and as he's walking up and preparing his presentation, I would like to introduce him formally. Mr. Ramano is a water resource management specialist with over 20 years of experience, with a specific focus on transboundary water management, environment, and water quality. He has managed several projects within the SADC region and the Orascom Basin. His presentation is an overview of the Orascom Joint Survey, the third joint survey. And Mr. Mike, the virtual floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Getty, and greetings to everybody. I hope you can see my presentation in full mode.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. Oh, thanks a lot. My name is Michael Ramano. I can't remember the last time somebody called me Michael. I'm known as Mike within the region. So I'll give you an overview of what Orascom, the Orange Senku River Commission, is doing in terms of water quality management, with a special focus on the groundwater management within the basin. For those who are not probably not very much familiar with Orascom, it's a river basin that's shared by 4 countries. These 4 countries of Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, and South Africa came together to see how they can at best manage the water resources within the Orange Senku River Basin. The river basin starts in the highlands of Lesotho, and then goes down all the way down to form the border between Namibia and South Africa. So those 4 countries set up an institution, which is a river commission, to primarily give advice to the state parties on matters related to the development, utilization, and conservation of the water resources. So primarily, we give advice to the state parties and in a lot of way direct the development of the water resources within that basin. I think this has been touched a lot, those transboundary basins around the world. We are down there in the south of Africa. And within our basin, we primarily have 4 transboundary aquifers. The first one is the Stamprit aquifer, shared between Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. We then have the Karoo sedimentary aquifer, which is shared between South Africa and Lesotho. And then we've got the Kakia Brae, which is the one that at least we have now got better boundaries around it, that is shared by South Africa and Botswana. And lastly, at the river mouth, we have the coastal sedimentary aquifer shared between Namibia and South Africa. So those are the 4 aquifers that we currently have within the basin. Our basin is quite a big basin. And it has one of the most developed areas, which is Gauteng in South Africa. The Gauteng province, part of it falls into our basin, and with it comes the Vaal River that comes down, flows to the west and joins the Senku Orange, which comes from the side of Lesotho. Now, there are so many challenges that we are currently experiencing, one of which is that we've got a lot of industries and mining within the basin, and really this is a serious cause of concern for all the member states. I think at times when you go on to the Vaal River system, it's so polluted with everything that comes from your industries. At other times, there are times when even somebody would send videos of it burning because of all the pollution that goes in there, of all the industrial waste that goes in there. We also got a lot of challenges that relate to catchment management pressures, where especially in the areas around Lesotho, we've got a lot of soil erosion and degradation of that whole soil structure, meaning that it poses a threat to our water tower in Lesotho. If you go down to Bloemfontein or you look down on the water that comes along the Mohokare Caledon, I would say most of it, the turbidity there is crazy because it's so concentrated, and that really says a lot of soil is coming down the rivers and now going to even at times, I think, get into the two downstream dams of Harip and Van der Kloof, which means over time it's reducing the sizes of those dams. As long as along the whole river system, we also have a lot of commercial agriculture taking place. We have a lot of grape farming around Appington, going on to the Namibian side at North Uva. All those areas, there is a lot of commercial agriculture that is going on. Currently, Namibia is also developing more farming area around the Neketal Dam. So once you see all these, it means there is a lot of runoff that comes with a lot of pollutants. These then also come down and ensures that the water that ultimately reaches the river mouth is of very poor quality and has various or a lot of effects on both the environment as well as the people who are using that water. But we have also had a lot of changes in the flow regime of the basin. Our basin is one of those that are very much developed in terms of water infrastructure. There are so many dams that trap the water during the rainy season and then release that mainly for agricultural purposes, or they then release it during winter when the river is supposed to be dry. They release it for generation of electricity. And I think for those who are in Namibia, you'd have picked up quite a lot of times the parliament in Namibia complaining of low flows on the river. And that is primarily because the water is trapped upstream, meaning that very little water comes down to the river mouth. That then impacts negatively on the estuary, because then that estuary does not go through the natural processes of flushing and so forth, because that water is being held up upstream, especially by the dams. You've got the Bloemhof, you've got the Harip, you've got the Van der Kloof, and a lot of small other dams there. So these are the challenges that we have. What they basically mean is that the quality of the water that we have in the basin is very much compromised. Therefore, in order to try and address this, Orasacom then came up with a system to tackle these water quality challenges. I will not go through all of them, but one of the key ones that I will be talking to today, it's a joint basin water quality survey, which is undertaken every 5 years. It is an assessment that is meant to establish the health of the system. So you are looking at various characteristics of the system. It's done every 5 years. The first one was done in 2010. The second one is in 2015. And then the last one, which was JBS3, was done in 2021 instead of 2020. That was just primarily because of COVID. When JBS first started, it covered only surface water. And then over time, we have included groundwater components to it. And as we are speaking here today, I know a lot of other basins within the region are now starting to undertake joint basin surveys. The Limpopo just undertook their first joint basin survey. I think it was late last year or early this year. And there is scope for groundwater to be included, but we need to better define what it is that we want to achieve through that, and then be able to influence the way we look at groundwater as we go forward. One of the key things with the Joint Basin Survey, like I said, it has a lot of components that it is looking into. Normally, countries do their own quarterly or annual monitoring, water quality monitoring. And if you look at the parameters that they look at, most of those are just your simple in situ monitoring with few, because our laboratories also have very, very few capabilities. So we do only a few water quality or chemical water quality parameters. But what we then do with the Joint Basin Survey, we go bigger than what our normal monitoring does, so that it gives a better idea of the health of the system. So we do your complete aquatic ecosystem health, look at water quality, microplastics, your POPs, your persistent organic pollutants, and so forth. You look at eDNA, you look at diatoms and your invertebrates. So we look at all these to ensure that we get a better idea of what we have within that. But we also take it a bit further and still look at our laboratories in the countries to at least see our capabilities within our labs and what we are able to do, so that we get a more robust idea. I think at times it's where we are saying we may be doing all this, but if on our monitoring that we do on a quarterly basis, we do not meet the accreditation or other things that are needed for our results to be accepted at almost everywhere, then it becomes a difficult situation. Our monitoring then does not serve any good purpose. Remember, in a lot of our countries, I think in our EIA legislation, we also have the polluter pays principle. Now, the onus is on you as government, as whichever entity, to be able to prove that, yes, institution A polluted, these were the results from the pollution. And once your lab is not accredited, then your results will never stand in a court of law. So the interlaboratory benchmarking is all meant to improve our labs so that at some point we are able to even implement that polluter pays principle. But then all this also goes in with a lot of stakeholder engagement, where we are sensitizing the public. We are also including them in citizen science monitoring at various levels. Now, we are looking at a lot of sites within the basin. I think in total, we are looking at about 65 sites. Most of these sites are for surface water, and only 8 are for groundwater. And the 8 that we are looking for or at are what we call those of transboundary importance. So one we have in Lesotho, around the Matsuku, Uya, and dam there. So we have one that is up in Lesotho. And Lesotho being Lesotho, you would always expect that to have good quality water. But if you were to go around Maseru, I think the situation would change because of the pressures from the population and so forth. Then in Namibia, we've got 3 sites. 2 of them are on the Stampriet, and 1 is just downstream of the Neketal Dam along the Fish River. That reddish one, number 51. So those are the ones that we have there. And then we have a number that is in South Africa, Groundwater 5, which is in an agricultural area where it's a lot of small stock that is being reared. And then we've got another transboundary one, groundwater site number 4 there, which is between Botswana and South Africa at 2 rivers. And that's where also you get the AUB and the NOSOB meeting at that point. So those are the points that we are currently monitoring. It is also quite important to point out that these are, for me at least, these are not enough, and we are unable to get a bigger picture and an understanding of the challenges that we have in relation to groundwater. But I think this is a problem that we all acknowledge within Orascom, and depending on the financial implications of this, we would like to include a lot more of the groundwater sites so that we are able to learn, especially along the river, the main stem of the river, to be able to learn what is the correlation between surface and groundwater. So that is something that we have highlighted, and I think that's something that we will in future look at. So what we normally do when we go to this groundwater sites, but before I go there, this is a snapshot of a comparison of how our basin is doing in terms of water quality and the aquatic system around there. If you look at JBS1, which was in 2010, you would realize that you had a lot of that, almost 80% of it being fair, and very little in the purple one, which is the severely modified one. You go to JBS2, you see that the red has now increased. That's the poor, that's the areas that we can term them to be poor, where we see that there is a lot of pollution, a lot of degradation around the ecosystem or the riverbanks as we go along. And then you go to JBS3. An interesting one is that those areas that were primarily poor before have now shifted to severely modified, meaning that over time you see an increase in the degradation and the deteriorating water quality within the basin. So I think this is something that really needs attention as we go forward, because then it will mean we are losing the war against having our water quality or the health of our river system in a good state. We need to see a change in this trajectory to where more and more of our areas are really good. Now, when we do get to our groundwater sites, what is it that we do? The first thing that we get there is that we start off by taking our static water levels, so groundwater depth. So you would use your dip meter to be able to determine that. And then after that, you then move on to making a decision based on borehole properties, use and available equipment, or whether you need to purge it before you start sampling. Some of them you would find that over the 5 years, the borehole has almost collapsed or it has not been used for a long time. And so those issues come into play to be able to say we need to purge it, to be able to clean it a bit so that we are able to get a representative sample of that. Now, once that has been done, we can then move into the sampling. We will sample the water and then do an in situ testing for basic chemical water parameters. So you do your temperature, your pH, your electrical conductivity, your TDS, salinity, and dissolved oxygen. But then you also do the E. coli testing at the site. So that for me becomes quite important because it gives us an idea whilst we are on site of what we are looking at, especially with E. coli, because that gives us quite an idea of what could be happening and whether that water is good for drink, especially for drinking purposes. Then we take some more sample to be able to do laboratory analysis. So you use either a baler or you pump it, and then you take it for laboratory analysis. What we then did is that we use a single laboratory, accredited laboratory for all the testing. So it means we take samples from these different countries to one laboratory. And then once that has been done, we test for your arsenic, your calcium, all those parameters that are there. This is what we test for in a laboratory setting. So this then we can then at least have something that gives us an idea of the health of that borehole as we go on. Just a snapshot of the results from the various boreholes that we have undertaken. Those that are in an orangish color, I'm not sure if I can have, oh, sorry. I don't have a pointer. Those that are in an orangish color, this is where the water exceeds the irrigation limit. Those parameters will exceed that water that is recommended for irrigation. The blue ones are where you exceed the World Health Organization drinking limit. And then the purple one is where you exceed the drinking limit for water according to the South African national standards, which in most cases talks to what we have in Lesotho, Botswana, and Namibia. And lastly, the other one, the more reddish one is for, you will excuse me, I'm not sure what that color is, but I'm a man, I'm forgiven if I'm colorblind. That almost reddish color is where you are exceeding the livestock drinking limits. But what I would like to highlight out of this is that you look at the Matsoku River point, you see that everything is on point. There is no, that column, is it 8? There is nothing there that is above any limit. It's within range. The deterioration starts as you go down downstream. But one of the ones that really we can highlight, very poor quality water, is groundwater site number 4. That is the one that is at the 2 rivers in Botswana, which is part of the standplate. Now, it has poor quality water, but the one that also then you can pick up is that even the arsenic levels are high. And if you think about it, the arsenic levels are high, the ammonia is high, all those. Now, until 3, 4, yeah, maybe until 2019, 6 years ago, this borehole was used for potable uses by the staff of the Department of Wildlife and National Parks on both sides. So you can see the health potential challenges that are there. And so there are those that we have within the basin that are that bad. And then you also get others where you've got like the one in Namibia where you've got high levels of dissolved iron and sodium and so forth. So these are the challenges that we have within our basin, especially regarding groundwater. However, I still think when it comes to groundwater, our challenges are increasing by the day. Firstly, there is an appetite across the basin to do a lot of desalination of this water to make it to potable standards. Now, the desalination process has a lot of reject water. And then most of the desal plants, it's where there is an assumption that this hypersaline water or the reject water that comes out from the plant, we will then put it in an evaporation pond, and then the water will evaporate and will remain just with the salt. But that's on the ground, you look at it, that is not what is happening. The membrane that is being used to line these ponds gets eaten away, and the water now starts seeping into the aquifer that is there. So you now start picking from the surrounding boreholes where your TDS now sometimes even shoots beyond a limit that can go into a desal plant. So that's one. But then we also have a challenge, especially around the standplate. We've got this issue around the in situ uranium mining that is being mooted around there and posing serious challenges to the farmers, to the transboundary conservation areas that are in there. So these are the challenges where this monitoring then is supposed to come in to show that at least we had this good system before this mining came in, before this desal plant came in, and how to be able to address those. But in most cases, our monitoring falls far below the parameters that we have here. So sometimes, even as we move forward, it will take time for us to be able to really see the problems that we have because of those developments. In conclusion, I think we've learned quite a number of things, one of which is that, you know, we identify these boreholes working with the member states, and then you realize when you get there, you can hardly get geological and drilling data for some of those boreholes. You don't know the aquifer that we have targeted, how the boreholes have been developed. and equipped, because when you now do your water quality analysis, this comes into play. So our data management is something that is, I don't want to use the word horrible, but it's next to it. We are doing poorly there. You get to a department, you realize the water is, the data is stored on Getty's laptop in an Excel sheet. And then when Getty retires or when Getty leaves, goes for greener pastures, she lives with the laptop with all the data. So I think that is something that we need to look into. It was also at times quite difficult to measure the static water levels due to a number of reasons. Some of them you would see that they are almost collapsed and so forth. And so sometimes that has been a challenge. Now, one thing that is concerning is that almost all the boreholes exhibited presence of E. coli in there. And we all know the health effects of E. coli and how it can affect human beings, even at times including animals. So I think there is need for us to be able to see why the source of this E. coli is. It could be because you're getting droppings from animals over time now getting into our aquifers, or if it's closer to a settlement, then the waste management being the one that leads to the contamination of that. So there is a chance also that once that E. coli becomes a lot, then we will lose all that aquifer and we can't use it for anything else. Like we have a case with the Ramotswa aquifer in the Limpopo, that transboundary aquifer between Botswana and South Africa. Another challenge is that large parts of the historical data is missing. I think this goes on to my earlier point. So determining trends becomes quite difficult. And I think for me, one of the things that SADC-GMI and the river basins throughout has to come up with is how do we manage data and information that is there. It's quite difficult to get that, especially from the Department of Water in the various countries. I think there is a need for SADC-GMI to work closely with the river basin commissions, get that data and have a system where all the data, a repository for all the data, and then those being able to access that data. It would make quite a big impact when it comes to really determining trends in that. Now, for those who are looking at starting JBS or including groundwater into the JBS, let's look at what is likely to be measured and what is it that you are trying to achieve. I think even for Resocom, we are still thinking maybe we do not understand what we are really trying to achieve with the groundwater component in the JBS. But for now, what we are able to pick are those hotspots that are there. Most of the time, you realize that we do not have a lot of information on groundwater within the basin. I mean, yes, within the basin and within the SADC region. So we need to be able to gear our program either to achieve that baseline study, especially for those parameters that we are not measuring at national level, And then we also need to now start having comprehensive discussions on the geology and its influence on groundwater. That in itself can then inform our water quality analysis, because at times you get into one and then you pick up a lot of nitrates and you are told, but the geology of this area seems to show that there is a lot of nitrates that is occurring. That's why you are picking it in the groundwater and so forth. So I think we need to be able to have these discussions on the geology and how it influences groundwater, so that when we do our monitoring, we are then able to at least explain why we see certain parameters showing up in there. So in a nutshell, I hope I have not taken too much of our time. That was the JBS, a highlight of the JBS 3, and with a specific focus on groundwater. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike. Very, very fantastic presentation. And because of time, I was thinking if we have quick reactions from the young professionals, because it was quite a technical presentation. Maybe if they have questions, we can attend to them now before we move into Lauren's presentation, which will be more fun and games. So I'm thinking maybe we just take some questions now, and then we can move into Lauren's presentation. I'm checking in the chat. Yes.
Yes, I've got one question for Michael.
All right.
Okay, I just wanted to check if there are any recorded health deteriorations, especially that area that he mentioned about that ball used by the people, considering the fact that there is a high concentration of fluoride in that area. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks, Lawrence. Yes, we did talk to the health officials, especially with the fluoride in that area. I think you would normally pick it up on the teeth, because now you get a lot of teeth with a lot of colorings and so forth. So they had indicated that, yes, because of the fluoride, they get those dental issues around the area. It's something that is, you know, sometimes I think for the longest time, at least according to the health officials, it's something that they have always had and they think it's normal over time. But that has been an issue that is there. As to other, we have not really had any other, especially with regards to other arsenic and so forth. We have not, they had not picked up anything yet, but that is not to rule those out. It was just that they were not, even for them, I think, in a state where they could pick that up. But I think for fluoride, because it shows, especially in your teeth, then they were able to pick those up. So, but let me also then say this was just anecdotal observations, not much in terms of that evidence that they can take up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I see Aneso's hand is up. Aneso, your question, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. My question is on data. I understand that Michael mentioned that there is the data management is next to horrible. So I'm not going to ask on how they are managing data, but I would love to understand, let's say, the data that we have. Do we have any efforts that we make sure that our data is able to be understood by all the stakeholders involved? Let's say if we have got a farmer at your office and is actually looking for data, do we have a simplified set of data that we can give to the farmer so that he is able to understand the data?
Okay, thanks a lot, Anesu, for that. One of the initiatives that we are trying at Orascom is setting up a water information system. We had one that has been there, but over time we have been, I think, working on revamping it, where we will be able to get the data from the various countries or from the member states, so that once we get this data, then we are able to share it amongst the member states. But this is still something at infancy, and my honest belief is that SADC-GMI would do a better job if they were to have a system in place where they gather all the groundwater data. You know, a lot of the times our systems are geared more towards surface water, the water that we can see, and in the process, not much resources and technical things are put into groundwater. So I would still feel that SADC-GMI will do a better job if they were to take up, have a SADC-wide portal where we put all the data that we generate. On the simplified, whether that data can be used by, say, a farmer at any point, I think that's quite a challenge. Remember, as a river basin organization, we normally say we work through the country. So if we were to get the information, we then transmit it to the countries, and then they are the ones that are able to take it, process it in a way that they can share it with the general public. So for us, it has been quite a challenge. But when you get onto the ground, we talk to various people, you also realize that our governments or departments are struggling a bit to reach all the stakeholders. That's why sometimes when we even do JBS, we have that stakeholder engagement, but it's once in a while. So even after we finished the JBS, the results were all there. We sort of did road shows around to be able to take those results out, but it is not enough. I think there's still a lot that we can work with to be able to simplify the information, but not just simplify it, ensure that it reaches the targeted communities so that they can be able to use that much better. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. I see we have a hand, Chole. Chole, I'll let you wait at the end. Just note down that question and then we'll attend to it at the end. Thank you very much, Mr. Mike. I hope you can remain to tackle some of the questions at the end as well. But for now, thank you very much. We are giving you a virtual round of applause.
Thank you.
Yes. I would like to move on now to our next presenter, who is Lawrence. Lawrence, please put on your video so that I can help you proceed to your seat on stage as I introduce you as well. So Lawrence, kindly put on your video. So Lawrence is a young professional who is a geologist, an exploration geologist, but he is working as a hydrogeologist with over 6 years of experience, professional experience. in hydrogeology as well as exploration. He currently serves as a hydrogeologist at the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development, where he plays a vital role in tackling water sustainability and utilization. Lawrence, the floor is yours. Please proceed with your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, sharp. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be presenting before you. You should also know that these webinars remind us that we need to share, connect, to spark new ideas. And as mentioned before, there are a lot of changes. The world is changing. We are facing new challenges in terms of water resources management, particularly groundwater management. Technology is changing daily, but progress is not only about the tools and the systems that we have. It is also about the people, the gamers, the doers, and the leaders. And I would like to believe that SADC-GMI saw it prudent to build capacity within the young professionals and organize these young professionals winter school. So my presentation title will be on empowering future water leaders, giving you reflections from the first SADC-GMI young professionals winter school, which was held on the in Zimbabwe, at the University of Zimbabwe. So this is just an outline of my presentation from introduction, the objectives, going through all the activities that we did up until to the last slide, which is on appreciation. So a brief background: the first winter school was held from the 20th of July 2025 to the 8th of August at the University of Zimbabwe. This event marked a significant step in regional capacity building by bringing together groundwater professionals from across SADC member states. But maybe I need to mention that it wasn't all about groundwater professionals, but it brought a number of people in our SADC region, from environmental scientists, geophysicists, disaster management specialists, and also GIS and remote sensing specialists, which is noted with my last statement on it provided a huge blend of technical knowledge, practical case studies, and networking opportunities. So what were the objectives of this winter school? Number one, the objective number one was to build technical competencies. Number two was to foster regional integration through knowledge sharing, and also to apply principles of integrating innovation, community service, and real-world problem solving. You will see at the end of my presentation, there is a slide on hackathon that was put forward to see if we can solve the challenges that we are facing within our member states, within our communities. And lastly, to produce actionable outputs from field data tools, policy recommendation, and youth-led groundwater innovation. So this is just a snapshot of our key learnings that we managed to get from the winter school. Number one, there was strengthening or understanding of groundwater governance frameworks and policy instruments across the SADC region. As we all know that we can have the technical information, but if that technical information doesn't aid into our governance framework and policy formulation, then that information is as good as nothing. Another one is we also gained technical knowledge in groundwater monitoring, assessment, and modeling. For us to protect our groundwater resources, we need to monitor all the contaminations and everything that is passing through, such that we can make informed decisions. Then we also acquired insights into boundary aquifer management and the importance of regional cooperation. I hope from the last first presenter, you can actually see that we are having more and more boundary aquifers, and with that we need to strengthen our regional cooperation to manage our groundwater aquifers more effectively. So this slide is giving a snapshot of the presentations that we got from different experts. So ProfMech led a series of interactive practice-oriented sessions designed to build ethical awareness. One thing that we noted is, as professionals, there are a lot of times where we have ethical dilemmas, we face a number of challenges, but we were taught that as a professional, you need to maintain your ethics, you need to be professional in whatever you do. And then But and I focused on groundwater leadership, groundwater governance, and the inclusivity through ESG frameworks. Especially on groundwater leadership, we managed to get insights about what it takes to become a good leader. We see that we are leaders in our communities, in our organizations. So there are skills that we need to have so as to lead people that we. Then Dr. Gumidoga delivered a technical, hands-on series which was centered on modeling and remote sensing tools, from fundamentals of groundwater modeling and overview of WASM-based groundwater modeling. In groundwater assessment, or when we do mapping, there is a cost that is involved, and having these remote sensing tools in our systems, it means that we can acquire information about an area without being in contact with that area, and then maybe later on we can now go to the ground for ground truthing. Then Engineer James, which is a seasoned regional water infrastructure expert, focused on a bigger picture of planning and financing. We all need finances when it comes to water use management. In his session on transboundary groundwater management, he addressed the political, the technical, and the legal consideration in shared aquifer projects. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know that we might have all the information, but if we don't involve the political aspects that we have in our member states, the legal frameworks, then we cannot achieve our regional framework. So there's need to consider all these aspects so as to manage our groundwater resources. Then Dr. Kevin presented foundational knowledge and real-world methods for managing groundwater. In his sessions on hydrogeological frameworks of Southern Africa, he explored major aquifer systems, regional hydrogeology, and resource challenges using a number of case studies. And Miss Anna, she introduced participants to isotope hydrology, a tool to test groundwater origin and age. So we can actually see that from the previous presented that we have water that is got a lot of contaminants, and using these isotopes, we can trace their origin, we can trace the origin of all those elements and the like. And then Dr. Mkaneta presented a strong foundation in groundwater science and exploration. We discussed groundwater regimes and the water cycles, including aquifer properties, the skills, the overall abstraction, and sustainable use concept. So these were just the basics of groundwater, or of the water cycle, where the water comes from and how it passes through the atmosphere up until it reaches the ground and also back into the atmosphere. Then lastly, Prof. Tokozani focused on interpreting drawdown data, calculating transmissivity, and evaluating aquifer properties through pumping tests. So each and every day we'll be pumping our bores. So we actually need to understand and also to have the knowledge such that we can have a clear assessment of our aquifers within our member states and the region at large. So from there, we had our fieldwork, which was conducted for the Upper Manyame sub-catchment. The participants, the young professionals, were provided with practical demonstration on groundwater monitoring using data loggers. There was a discussion on groundwater challenges and management practices in the urban and peri-urban areas. So these were the key demonstrations that we had. We had an introduction to the data loggers, how the data logger work, the LCT data loggers. LCT, they can measure the level, the conductivity, and the temperature of groundwater, which can actually give us the condition or the quality of that water. Then we went through the installation process of the data logger and data retrieval and interpretation, and lastly, the maintenance tips. So this is just a slide with pictures on our field trip to Upper Manyame. You can actually see people were enjoying, and we did collaborate and learned a lot from each other. Then on networking and collaboration, the Windows School fostered meaningful connections with peers and experts. Like I said before, there were a number of experts. It was not only hydrogeologists, but there were GIS people, there were disaster management people, there were remote sensing people, as well as environmental experts. So these networks were very much valuable for future collaborations and knowledge sharing and joint initiatives on groundwater governance and management. So going to the next part, which is the strength of the program. So the first one is you can actually see from the snapshot that I gave on our key learnings, we had experts in this field. So we managed to learn a lot from their experience over the past years. Then there was also a diversity of participants to ensure multiple perspectives, as well as the relevance of topics to groundwater challenges that we have in the SADC region. You actually see when I to the slide with the topics that were pitched for the hackathon, you can actually see that the young professionals were trying to solve the challenges that we are facing in our region. Then there was also a balance between theory, policy, and practical case studies. Then on areas of improvement, we actually needed to have more inclusive, more practical demonstrations, especially on the part of isotopes. We actually need to go and sample the water. We actually need to go into the lab and also to have the results so that we can get an appreciation of what it means and how it is presented, to make sure that everyone can understand those results. And then derive meaningful information from that data. Then on my personal impact, this Windows School has engaged my technical and professional capacity. I'm better equipped to contribute to groundwater monitoring and sustainable utilization, policy dialogue within my current role and beyond. In as much as I was working, or as I'm working in this field, but this Windows School, it sharpened me to become a better hydrogeologist. Then the hackathon was an engaging and collaborative experience that fostered innovation in groundwater management. It provided a unique platform for young professionals to apply theoretical knowledge to real-world challenges. So these are the topics that were presented. We were divided into 6 groups, and each group was supposed to come with a presentation from topic, everything, the methodology, and to present their ideas. So these were the topics, and from these topics, you can actually see that each and every group was trying by all means to make sure that we solve the challenges that we have in our communities, in our member states, and the SADC region at large. Then in conclusion, the SADC-GMI Windows School was an outstanding capacity building initiative. It provided a well-structured platform that combined technical knowledge, practical applications, and peer learning. A big thank you to Engineer James Aramba and the whole SADC-GMI team for this wonderful opportunity, the University of Zimbabwe for hosting us, and our facilitators for sharing their knowledge with us. I sincerely appreciate SADC-GMI and its partners for this initiative and recommend its continuation as a center of excellence for groundwater management in Southern Africa. And as I finish my presentation, I would like to leave you a few nuggets. Innovation requires risk, collaboration, it requires trust, and what requires vision that looks beyond today. So let us be bold, let us think bigger, and let us create solutions that last and inspire. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. No wonder you were elected as the president. Well done, well done. So now we will open up the questions. Maybe Lawrence, you can stop sharing, and then I will I'll bring Mike back up. Mike, can you please just put on your video? And then Lawrence, keep your video on, and then you will have both of you on stage, and then we can see if we have some questions. All right, we can start with Cholwe, if she's still on the call. Cholwe, please ask your question.
Hello, thank you, Getty, for inviting me to this presentation. I really enjoyed Mike's presentation. My question is on one of the selected boreholes for the Orange Senku River Basin. One of the selected boreholes was, I think one of them was in Botswana. It had elevated levels of cations and anions like calcium and chloride. From what I see is that that borehole BH, is it 5299? Is located in a salt pan. So I'm wondering whether it's a good representative of the region.
Okay, thanks, Cholo, for that. It's not actually a salt pan. It's located at the confluence of the Aub and the Nossob rivers, at two rivers entrance gate into the Transfrontier Park. So it's actually a confluence of the two the Nossob and the Aub. So whether we can, but maybe the characteristics could be the same to a pen because there is very high evaporation in the area. Temperatures are scorching at best during summer. So yeah, it could be that the high evaporation rates could also then lead to those cations and all that being elevated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, which opens up the opportunity actually to consider more boreholes that are more representative. But I know, Mike, you mentioned that mostly the concern is with the cost, but is there maybe other approaches that you have considered when it comes to the 4 different countries on offering some of the cost and ensuring that they do the quality analysis, etc.?
Thanks a lot, Getty. I think one of the things that would be quite good, and I think for other JBSs as we go forward would be, can we be able to form partnership with institutions that would take some of this into their costs? For example, universities within the basin. They are at times looking at getting students to monitor some of these, especially our master students. Can we give them access? At times it's quite difficult for various reasons for the governments and the departments to be able to do that. But if we can build partnership with universities, and then they are able to do that. The others would be look at other organizations that are there. Like, for example, the Wilderness Foundation. I think it's called the Wilderness Project Foundation, something like that. They have worked a lot on the Okavango, on the Zambezi. They are doing a lot of surface water monitoring and not necessarily groundwater. But if we can bring them into the picture and we work with them at their budget to do surface water, that means we can have a bit more money to increase our groundwater monitoring. So I think let's explore partnerships and not just I think rely on governments, because our governments are having it tough at best under the current circumstances. Ever since COVID, I think Getty will remember that even in Namibia, there was no budget to take one sample in a year because all the budgets went to COVID, and we seem not to have recovered at all since then. So I think let's try build partnerships that can help us. Sometimes work with the private sector. It's still quite difficult for our departments to work with the private sector. Say, for example, you work with, at that point or along the stamp route, you work with the farmers, you work with the tour operators on the tourism sector to see how they can do that, because in most cases, it's also in their interest to be able to see the state of the water and so forth. There are also mines along the way, but I think for those monitorings where we are not on an enforcement mission, we can then be able to work with them so that they help us to take some of these away from the responsibility of either Orascom or government. Thank you.
Thank you. I definitely agree with that. Also, just to add, Lawrence briefly touched on it in his presentation. And I know, Mike, one of the major challenges you mentioned in your conclusion was with data sharing, and also just the actual data availability and storing of the data. I also just wanted to inform you that the winning innovation team, the innovation group that won the challenge, is actually working on creating a platform that can help us share data, like a groundwater data sharing platform through the initiatives of the young professionals. From your experience and your background, Mike, what is maybe a key item that you can tell them that they should consider critically as they develop and refine this innovation that they plan to pitch at the conference in November?
I think for me, I would always advise them to say, you know, in as much as we are river basin organizations, we are SADC, there's still a lot of sovereignty that comes into play. We talk of data sharing, but there are times when I call to say, Lawrence, I need information on one or data from your monitoring 1, 2, 3, and then no, that's our data as a country, and we do not want to share it because we don't know what. So I think the first thing that they have to do would be to establish those parameters that they would be sharing, because then it makes it easier for the countries to share once they agree to those. At times, it's your basic parameters that people are confident in sharing, but then at times people do not want to share, because at some point you now start saying, where is the influence of these parameters coming from? And then you start having issues of you should not harm your downstream users as per the SADC agreement and so forth. So I think we need to look at those parameters and then identify the key sites that will sort of give us an idea of those transboundary sites of importance that we can work around with. So I think for me, those will be the two key things. Agree on the parameters to share, and also after that, the key sites that you need to work with. It cannot be all the sites in a country. So, but let's agree at those key sites, and then we can be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any hands. Let me just quickly open the chat. I also don't see any questions in the chat. So thank you very much, Mr. Mike. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for that summary of how the winter school went. And thank you to our participants that are still on the call. I know today we really went 30 minutes over, so but I know it was time well spent, and we were able to learn as much as we can. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. As you all know, we have the upcoming groundwater SADC groundwater conference that will be in South Africa on the 17th to the 21st November. So I just want to urge all the young professionals that have not registered and planning to attend the conference to please register, and also ensure that they've processed their registration payments to secure the spots, because we really have limited spots left, and I want to make sure that our young professionals are well represented at the conference. Yes, that's all from my side, unless if maybe Kevin has anything to add, but if not, that is all from my side. Let's just give our speakers another round of applause. And thank you very much for joining, and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much.
You.
Good evening.
Can we stop the recording, Katie? Oh, never mind.
Mchwene, either you left your laptop as attendance